In 2023, a team of archaeologists in Abisko, Sweden, made what should have been the discovery of a lifetime: a burial site containing Neanderthal remains and a frozen mammoth, preserved in ice for tens of thousands of years. The kind of find that generates international attention, academic papers, museum exhibitions, and the kind of coverage that makes careers. They called it the Abisko hunt. The findings went on display in museums worldwide. And somewhere inside those ancient frozen remains in biological material that had not seen the surface world for longer than human civilization has existed was a virus. Nobody knew. The Kulon virus, the ancient virus that eventually killed the world, did not spread from a secret government lab or a corporate experiment gone wrong. It spread from a museum exhibition, from the kind of cultural event that thousands of people attend with their families on a weekend afternoon without any reason to think the experience could be dangerous. That is where the zombie apocalypse in No More Room in Hell 2 actually starts. Not with a bite, not with a lab accident. With a field trip. This is the full story of the Kulon virus, where it actually came from, how it spread before anyone knew it existed, why the people who could have stopped it did not, what Phalanx actually is and why it barely works, and what the one confirmed safe place in the entire world tells you about how far the outbreak actually went. If you have never played No More Room in Hell 2 or watched any previous video, in this series everything gets explained as we go. Let's get into it. Start with the Abisko hunt because the origin of the Kulon virus is the detail that changes everything about how you understand the outbreak. The Abisko hunt was a legitimate archaeological dig. Climate change, melting permafrost in northern Sweden exposed ancient remains that had been frozen for tens of thousands of years. Neanderthal bodies, a mammoth, the kind of find that makes scientists genuinely excited and that regular people actually show up to museums to see. The remains went on display in museums worldwide, and that is how the virus spread, not through deliberate release, not through a containment failure at a research facility, through museum attendance, through the ordinary human experience of going to look at something ancient and remarkable and leaving without knowing you were carrying something ancient and deadly. The Kulon virus goes straight for the brain and nervous system. That is what makes it different from most viruses. It does not attack the body generally. It specifically targets how the brain functions. And it had been frozen inside Neanderthal remains, preserved in ice, sitting dormant for longer than the entire history of human civilization. It was not designed to infect modern humans. It infected them anyway. Because viruses do not need to be designed, they just need an opportunity. And the Abisko hunt gave it one. The frustrating thing about the Kulon outbreak is that it was not invisible. The signs were there years before anyone acted on them. In 2008, a CDC study found a dormant virus present in a large portion of the population that had somehow spread everywhere across the country. No obvious pattern. No clear way of explaining how it got around. Just a virus present in blood samples from people who had no connection to each other and no obvious reason to be carrying the same unknown virus. The study noted it, filed it, moved on. In 2009, the first cases of encephalitis lethargica appeared. Basically, the brain slowly shutting down, causing confusion, coma-like states, and eventually death in infected people. They were real. They were connected to the virus. And they were completely buried under the swine flu pandemic that dominated global health news that year. Millions of people worldwide were infected with swine flu in 2009. Health systems were overwhelmed. Media coverage was saturated. The cases connected to the Kulon virus were logged as unusual symptoms in some swine flu patients and largely overlooked. A serious threat hiding inside a more visible one. That is what let the virus keep spreading undetected for another 14 years, until the Abisko hunt gave it its museum moment and everything accelerated beyond any realistic chance of being stopped. By 2025, Dr. David Mead, head of virology research at the CDC, identified the virus specifically and recognized it for what it was. He and his colleague Stephen Hoffman sent a letter to Senior Deputy Director William D. Frank requesting the budget to research it properly. The request was denied. By 2026, the virus mutated and put large portions of the population into comas. The 2008 study, the 2009 cases buried under swine flu, the 2025 funding denial. 3 separate moments where the right response could have changed everything. 3 times the system failed to respond. And then there is Phalanx, because the story of how humanity ended up with its only treatment for Kulon is almost as disturbing as the virus itself. Phalanx was developed by Pfizer, in secret, over 2 years. While Pfizer worked quietly with the World Health Organization and the United States government about how dangerous the Kulon virus could actually become. That means the WHO and the US government knew about the virus before the public did. They knew enough to commission a pharmaceutical company to develop a treatment without telling anyone. They understood how bad things could get, and the public was not told. The research kept getting delayed and blocked throughout development. Pfizer was working against a timeline that kept getting shorter as the virus mutated faster than the development process could keep up with. When Phalanx finally hit the market, it hit during the height of the Kulon outbreak, rushed, incomplete, and significantly less effective than a properly developed treatment would have been. The side effects are significant: dizziness, loss of consciousness, heart problems, low blood pressure, and rare cases internal bleeding for people with pre-existing liver or kidney issues. Phalanx does not cure Kulon, it delays it. Taking Phalanx buys time, not recovery, not safety. Time. And the gene therapy that actually cures the infection was ready for mass distribution at almost exactly the wrong moment. Scientists had a promising vaccine prepared when the dead started getting back up, and the nature of the crisis changed completely. The cure existed, it arrived too late to matter at scale. Here's the detail about the virus that makes every encounter in No More Room. In Hell 2 feel different from most zombie games. The Kulon virus does not behave the same way in a living person as it does in a dead one. In a living person, it spreads like a common cold, through the air, incredibly easy to catch, spreading everywhere before anyone understood what they were carrying. It causes the brain to slowly shut down, leading to coma and eventual death. In the early stages of the outbreak, the time from getting infected to dying was measured in days or weeks. The virus that spreads from a dead body is something different. The time it spends inside a dead host changes it, makes it significantly more deadly than the original version. The strain that comes from a reanimated body kills and brings back infected people in minutes rather than days. A bite from a runner is not a slow death sentence the way most zombie stories frame infection. It is an immediate one. That is why the infection mechanic in the game works the way it does. Phalanx buys minutes, not hours. Gene therapy is the only real option. And the alternative, ending your own life before you turn, is framed as a genuine mercy rather than a failure, because the reanimated version of you would be significantly more dangerous to the people around you than anything else out there. The virus is also selective in a way that the game almost never talks about directly. It only brings back humans. Animals die from Kulon but do not come back. The reanimation only works on human biology in a way the lore has never fully explained, which raises a question nobody in the game's world has answered. What is it about human biology, specifically, that the Kulon virus uses to bring people back? And what does it mean that something this ancient, something that existed long before modern humans did, has a mechanism specifically built for human reanimation? There's one location in the entire world where none of this happened: Iceland, the only country on Earth with no zombie outbreak, no Kulon cases, no dead walking its streets. The US government relocated there. Rescue helicopters in the games Maps carry survivors toward Iceland as the extraction destination. It is the one confirmed safe place in a world that has otherwise completely fallen. The lore does not fully explain why Iceland was spared. The geography helps. It is an island. It can close itself off from the mainland more effectively than most countries. But the Kulon virus spread like a common cold before anyone knew it existed. So why did Iceland stay clean when everywhere else did not? Maybe the Abisko hunt exhibitions never reached Iceland in large enough numbers. Maybe Iceland's government knew something and acted fast enough to matter. Maybe there is something about Iceland specifically that the lore has not revealed yet. None of those answers are fully satisfying, which makes Iceland the most interesting unresolved question in the No More Room in Hell 2 universe. Not just a safe location, a mystery about why it is safe when everywhere else is not. That is the full story of the Kulon virus, an ancient virus frozen in Neanderthal remains for tens of thousands of years, released into the world through a museum exhibition that nobody suspected was dangerous. Spotted in 2008, missed in 2009 under the noise of swine flu, properly identified in 2025, and given a denied funding request instead of a research budget. A rushed treatment developed in secret with serious side effects. A cure that arrived just weeks too late. And a strain that came back stronger from dead bodies and turned every infected human into a more dangerous version of the threat that killed them. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next in this series. Because the HERE organization, Iceland's survival, and what the connection between No More Room in Hell 1 and No More Room in Hell 2 actually means. For the story all deserve their own dedicated videos. And drop a comment. The Kulon virus spread through museum exhibitions. People attending the Abisko hunt display carried it home without knowing it existed. Does knowing that change how you think about the outbreak's origin? Because for me, it makes it significantly more disturbing than any lab accident or government conspiracy would have been. Tell me what you think.